From the Crush Studio in sunny Florida, this is the Disney Crush Podcast. And now your two tempests in a teacup, Dave and Toni-Ann.
Last week, we want to thank Mandy for all her information on insurance. So this week, there's some things Toni-Ann wanted to tell you about her experience with travel insurance that she was not able to tell you about last week. Episode 431 starts right now.
Hey, Dave. I missed you last week.
Hey, thanks again, Mandy. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a little problem with the audio, and don't know what happened.
It was my fault, but that's okay.
I don't know what happened. That's okay, though. You had some stuff that you wanted to just share with everybody.
Yeah, that was the crux of why I wanted to do that episode about travel insurance, is that I had an experience this spring. Luckily, I had travel insurance, and it made all the difference in the world. And I wanted to tell my story. I haven't publicly shared what happened. We've hinted at what happened to me last spring. Some of my friends know, some of the people close to me know, but I haven't publicly talked about it. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable right now and share what happened last spring to me and why travel insurance was clutch in the end. A lot of you know that Dominic is in the Navy. He went into basic training the end of last March, and his graduation from basic training was the end of May, basically on Memorial Day weekend. We started our trip to Chicago, where the naval base is. Richard had been having some medical concerns over the previous year, and I was concerned about being out money if we took this trip and we couldn't make it, or if something happened. And that was the whole reason I took the insurance. We decided to rent an Airbnb up there in North Chicago where Dom is, because he'd been in basic training. He was sharing barracks with like 60 other guys. He hadn't had his own room for months. He hadn't even... Dave, when you're in basic training, you shower in a room in a shower with a bunch of guys.
Yeah, it's kind of like high school in PE, right? You got to shower. Yeah.
I think it's worse.
Well, I agree. Yeah.
So the kid hadn't even taken a shower by himself since March. So I really wanted to get an Airbnb so he could have his own space. He could have some privacy that weekend, because right after that weekend, he was going back in. His liberty was going to be done, and he was going to be back in the situation where he was sleeping in a room with this time 4 other guys, but still not his own space. And plus, I wanted to cook him some meals from home. He was calling me during basic training, telling me how much he missed this dish and that dish, and he wished that he could have my bolognese sauce and all this stuff. So I had cooked a pot of sauce with meatballs and sausages because he wanted baked ziti. And we were going to have this kitchen so I could make him a home-cooked meal that he'd been missing. So I rented an Airbnb. And my concern about Airbnb, which Mandy touched on a little bit, was I had heard nightmares. I had heard that people would rent an Airbnb and they'd get up to where they were traveling and they'd find out the house was sold up from under them. So I was nervous about that. I was nervous about my husband's health. So when I went to check out on the Airbnb app, it had the price. And at the very bottom, it said, do you want to opt for trip insurance? And it was like $32 or $36. And something just made me click that box. I have taken trips in the past where I just let it roll and I just fly by the seat of my pants. But something in the back of my mind told me, click that box, spend the $30 so that you're covered. And I did it. And I'm so glad I did. Because of Rich's health, we decided we were going to drive up to Chicago from Florida, up to North Chicago. It was going to be a 3-day trip and then 3 days back. It was late. It was actually Memorial Day when we left, May 27th. We got to Georgia. We stopped at a rest stop and we had pub subs. And I ate half of my sandwich or a little bit of my sandwich. And we were wrapped up and got back in the car. And I started having stomach pain. And I didn't say anything to my family. It was pretty bad, but I still didn't want to say anything to my family. And it passed after a half hour. So I thought, okay, that was weird, but all right, I haven't eaten bread in a while, so maybe that was what it was. And we went along our way, and we got to a hotel in North Georgia for the night. I ate dinner, no problem. We went to bed, and I was okay that night. The next day I got up and we packed up our stuff to get back in the car, to get back on the road. There was a free breakfast in the lobby. I ate a little bit of the breakfast and we were ready to get out in the car. And when we got to the car, I started to feel the pain again. And I said, Rich, I've got really bad stomach pains. I don't know what the story is, but can we go to Walgreens? I want to get something for my stomach. So we went to Walgreens. I got some medicine. I got some Pepto-Bismol. I took it. I felt better after a while. And we kept going along the way. And we went into Tennessee and we saw, it was amazing because as soon as you go past over the Georgia-Tennessee line, beautiful, beautiful mountains. It's just amazing. And I was all into that. I guess it was about lunchtime. We needed to get gas. And so we pulled into an area where there was restaurants and stores and gas. And I started having the pain, only it was worse. It was really, really bad. I was doubled over in pain. And Rich said, do you want me to take you to the hospital? And at first I blew it off and I said, no, I really, I want to get to Dominic. That's all I cared about was getting to Dominic.
Let me ask you, at this point, did you think it maybe just could have been something you ate? Because, that happens every now and then. You just get those really sharp pains.
Yeah.
So you were kind of blowing it off in that way, maybe?
Yeah. Well, the first day I blew it off because I'd been eating pretty healthy up until then. I'd actually been doing one meal a day and I wasn't eating carbs and I was eating really very healthy at that point. And I had a pub sub for lunch and I thought, oh, well, that's what it is. I haven't eaten like that in a while.
Right. So that's what you think. You think, okay, well, that just could be because I've been eating so clean and now this is just kind of turning my stomach upside down.
Right. But that breakfast, I just really stuck to the eggs and the meat and stuff. The pain was 10 times worse. I couldn't stand up straight. I was doubled over. I was like, we were in a gas station. I was leaning over the nasty trash can because it felt better to be bent over than it did being standing up straight.
Oh, geez.
So reluctantly, I said to Rich, I think I have to go to the emergency room. And we were in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. We were in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Rich asked a guy at the gas station where the nearest hospital was. And he was like, I think it's about 30 miles up the road.
Oh, great.
Oh my God. I was dying. So they Google mapped the closest hospital and it was probably like 20 minutes away. But for me, I was in agony at that point and I felt like it was taking forever to get there. And all I remember is Michael, I was in the back seat with Michael and he was going, Mommy, it's okay, Mom, it's okay. It's okay, Mom, you'll be okay. And I'm yelling at Rich, can you get there any faster? It was terrible. So we got to the ER at this one hospital. They took me in. They gave me morphine for the pain. Actually, yeah, they gave me morphine at that hospital. They took me for a CAT scan, and I had gallstones that were in my liver, and my liver was inflamed and septic. I was going into septic shock. Now, let me tell you something. I had my gallbladder out like 15 years ago. My gastroenterologist tells me that I am what they call a stone maker. Lucky me. Even though I don't have a gallbladder, I've now had 2 gallstone attacks after my gallbladder's been out. I had one immediately the year after my gallbladder was out. And then I went 15 years dormant where I had no problems until the weekend of my kids' Navy basic training graduation. That's when I had the problem. I was in the middle of nowhere, like I said. They couldn't do the procedure. It's a procedure that is done at hospitals all over the country. I've had it done here twice. They couldn't do it at this hospital. It's called an ERCP, where they go in. It's kind of like a scope where they go in through your mouth and they can go, instead of going into your stomach where you normally go for one of those down the throat EGDs, they go toward the bile duct and they clean out the stone. And they couldn't do it at this hospital in the middle of nowhere. So on top of the hospital bills now, I had a transport bill from an ambulance company. And the thing I didn't know at the time, because I was also passed out, but is that when I got home, my insurance company told me that $5,000 ambulance bill, they would not be paying because I didn't get pre-approval and it was an out-of-network ambulance company.
What in the what?
I was unconscious. I was on morphine and I didn't even know they were coming to get me to take me to another hospital. But my insurance company was saying, well, because you didn't take the time to ask us first and you went with this out-of-network ambulance company because I was in the middle of Tennessee. Yeah, they didn't pay the ambulance bill. So I was stuck with the ambulance bill for $5,000 because they took me from Nowheresville, Tennessee to Nashville. Thank God they took me to Nashville because I would have died. And I'm not exaggerating. I was told that I came close to death 3 times in this 3-day period where I was really touch and go. So I got to Nashville. They put me on a ventilator. I was actually intubated for 3 days on a ventilator. 3 days. I was totally unconscious, sedated, didn't know what was going on because they couldn't stabilize me while I was awake. They had to get me to settle down. They had to sedate me so that my body could fight this infection that I had in my liver. I had a really bad infection in my liver from these stones. And the thing that in retrospective, when I got home and talked to my gastroenterologist, the thing he was most concerned about and continues to be most concerned about is that I had no symptoms until maybe 12 hours before it was almost too late. That's when I had the first symptom. So he's like, from now on, if you ever have a pain, you get to the hospital, even if you think it's nothing, because he's really worried about how much tolerance I had that I got that far before I finally really had symptoms that said, oh, I got to get to the hospital because I almost died. It was bad. So I was in a hospital in Nashville, this big teaching hospital, 3 days on the ventilator, I think 5 days in the ICU, 7 days total that I was in this hospital. So I don't know if you know what ventilator and ICU bills look like, but they're scary.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
really scary. And you know, every doctor that pokes his head in the room charges $300 just for poking his head in the room.
Oh, exactly. Right. It's like a lawyer. Yeah. That
So
5-minute phone call will be $300. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. I got bills when I got home from people. I'm like, I don't know who this is, but I guess he saw me at some point.
You know, we're trying to get a hold of the hospital to talk to you, and we can't talk to you because you're not.
I was
out.
sedated. So apparently I had a moment of clarity somewhere in those days where I was able to tell Rich that I still wanted him to go to Dominic, because what was happening in Chicago was this kid was waiting for his parents to come to his graduation, and he was taken aside by a chaplain who told him that his mother was in the ICU. And he was going to be standing there at his graduation. Everybody's parents were going to be running up at the end of the ceremony, and he had no one. And Rich did not make it there in time for his graduation. So he stood there. It's horrible for me to think about. He's okay, but I'm not okay that I wasn't able to be there for his graduation. So,
okay, well, you got to let that go.
I know. Rich got there the next day or that night or something. I don't, timelines are fuzzy for me because I don't really know. My sister flew in so that Rich could go be with Dominic. And my sisters were amazing in this whole thing. I was unconscious, so I don't know what the inner workings were. But at some point, my sister flew in so that Rich could leave. So
yeah, we were getting updates from Rich. We knew all this, but you didn't have any clue.
I had no clue. So Rich was going to the Airbnb in North Chicago that I had rented, that I paid $1,300 for or $1,400 for. And En route, he called the host and said, "We're on our way. You know, we need the code to get in the house." And the guy said, "Well, I emailed that to your wife. I don't know who you are. I was a lead guest on the vacation." He's like, "I don't know who you people are. I sent the code to your wife's email." Now my phone is in Nashville with my sister.
Yep.
And none of them know how to get into my phone. Let me tell you something. If they had asked Michael, he would have told them how to get in my phone.
Of course.
But nobody asked Michael.
Oh, no.
So they didn't know how to get to my email. They didn't know how to get the code to get in the house. And the guy told them, "Tough luck. I'm not giving you the code. That's the rules with Airbnb. I can send the code electronically to the email because I don't know who you people are."
Right. And they're really strict about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because all kind of stuff happens. Right.
So now we're out $1,400 for the Airbnb, and Rich has to rent another hotel for the days that he's there. Also, the days that Rich was in Nashville being with me before my sister got there, he had other hotel expenditures that weren't planned for. So, and Rich had no idea about this trip insurance that I had. He went ahead, he paid for the other hotels. He figured we'll fight with Airbnb after the fact. And I just got to be here for Dominic and then get back to my wife. And that's all he was thinking at that time. In the meantime, I'm waking up 5 days later in Nashville. My sister's there. I'm like, "Where did you come from?" And I'm not making a lot of sense, apparently.
No, you weren't. No, I called you and you were talking, I don't know, you were wind talking gibberish. Yeah.
Apparently, I was talking to the television. I was talking to Jerry Seinfeld and the Bradys. Yeah. I was talking about Davy Jones's episode on the Brady Bunch. But my sister said for the first day, when anybody would ask me a question, I would just tell them my birthday. I would just say February 23rd, 1970. I would just tell people my birthday.
Oh, no.
And that was all I could say to people. And then the next day I was telling the nurse about what was happening on Seinfeld. And then I was telling my sister about the Brady Bunch. And the Brady Bunch was not even on TV. We had watched a documentary about Davy Jones about 2 weeks before this trip. And I was just spewing out these facts about Davy Jones being on the Brady Bunch. It was really weird.
It was those files in your head. Yeah. Just coming out.
I guess
And then the birthday
so.
has to probably do with something about nursing. Because you know how nurses always ask you your birthday?
Well, yeah. And that first ER I was in, whenever they scan your bracelet, they ask you your birthday
right.
before they give you any medicine or before they do any tests on you. So I think that's why I was spitting out my birthday. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
And the bad thing about it is I don't think anybody got to tape all this. See, because,
no, my sister took a few unflattering pictures that will never see the light of day.
No, videos would have been great, though.
No. See, and my sister doesn't know see, Dominic knows. My sisters don't know. I have a pact with Dominic that if I'm ever hospitalized or in a nursing home or anything, somebody's got to take care of all my menopausal whiskers. Because when I woke up, I was like, I need a razor now. That was the first thing I asked for was a razor.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, eventually I got discharged. I got discharged actually on Dominic's birthday and flew home the next day. One of my other sister flew in to relieve my first sister that was there. And she went home. And then Mary, my other sister, she accompanied me to the Nashville airport and we flew home. This was interesting. At the Nashville airport. Now I was at that point, I was walking with a walker. Oh, I forgot to say the best part. I asked the doctor when I was being discharged, when can I go back to work? First I asked, my sister said she needs a walker because she can't walk right now without a walker. And he said, okay, he ordered me a walker. It was going to be delivered to the hotel we were staying in that night. That's how great it was. And then the next question after the walker was, when can I go back to work? And he said, what do you do for a living? And I said, I'm a hospice nurse. Now, this was Thursday. He said, oh, you can go back to work on Monday. No problem. He just ordered me a walker. Did he think I was going to go to my patients with a walker?
Well, hey, you're a dedicated nurse, Toni-Ann. Come on.
Yeah. So it turns out, well, when I got home, I saw my doctor and she had a completely different idea, which went the other way, which I wasn't very happy about. But I wound up not going back to work for 3 months after I got home. But that was, I needed some recovery time. I had other problems when I got home. We got to the Nashville airport the next day and I could barely walk. So my sister got me a wheelchair. She got me kind of handicapped that I could go through security with the wheel, and they pushed me through the security. They pushed me to the gate. They pushed me on the airplane. When I was boarding the plane, when you have a wheelchair, you get on first. Mm-hmm. Okay. I boarded the plane and 7 other people were in wheelchairs. 7 other people got to board the plane first with me.
Well, that's a thing.
When we landed, it was a miracle.
Yep.
5 of those people miraculously stood up, got their bags out of the overhead, and walked up the gangplank, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
It was baloney.
Yep.
But so it was just me and a little 90-year-old man.
Oh, the ones who really were in need. Right.
Right. We waited for everyone else to deboard and then we got off the plane. But yeah, so that's something needs to be done about that because that was baloney.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff in the news about that, and I think a lot of the airlines are cracking down on it now.
Yeah. I hope that it doesn't affect people who really need it the way the DAS thing
right.
did.
I know.
And that's what I'm afraid of is that there are people that really need it. But I was only temporarily disabled. I was only in that state for another 2 weeks. And then I was able to walk around easily. But if I'm just temporarily disabled, I don't know how they're going to handle that because, that could be a problem if they overcompensate the other way, the way Disney has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
but it's the same kind of thing where a few bad apples spoil the bunch.
I know. Well, you know what I say? Put 100 people on a plane, at least one's going to be a...
When we got home, I told Rich to collect all the bills that he had amassed over those 8-9 days, whatever it was.
Well, let me ask you a question. At what point did you tell him, honey, relax, I have insurance?
Well, I didn't know that we could relax. But when we got... Because
you didn't know what it was covering, really, probably at that point.
I didn't really look at the policy.
You didn't read the fine print, Toni-Ann.
I knew we were going to be okay with the Airbnb. And then when we got home, my sister, I printed out the policy, and actually my sister in the hospital, she looked at it and she knew that the hotels were going to all be covered and everything. But I needed to get home and get all the bills to do that. But she had started the process of filing the claim. As we're sitting at my mother's kitchen table, we're looking at the policy, and it says that I'm covered for up to $50,000 in medical bills. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. And the hotel. So very easily, we got the hotel reimbursed. And it took less than 5 days. And we had the Airbnb money back. We had all the hotels minus the first night when we were in Georgia before I got sick. All the hotels plus the Airbnb was covered. I did not pursue the car rental. Mandy told me last week when we were talking that I probably should have pursued the car rental, but I didn't. But it's okay. We were renting the car anyway. It didn't matter. The medical bills were a little trickier because the medical bills, they cover your expenses, but you have to send them in your explanation of benefits for each bill from your insurance company and the actual bills that you receive from the doctors. And when you have that many bills, they come in dribs and drabs. So I didn't have all the bills until probably August or September, that all the bills were actually in. And So I got all the explanation of benefits from my insurance. I got all the bills from all the doctors, medical companies, anesthesiologists, radiologists, everything, all the bills. The total was not out of pocket. Let me be clear, not out of pocket. The total was like $376,000. My portion was my maximum out of pocket from my insurance that I had, luckily. The problem that I had was sometimes the explanation of benefits didn't match what the hospital actually was willing to pay. And that stupid ambulance bill was the biggest bill of all because they were not covered at all. And because my insurance company was saying that we're paying $0 for that bill. That bill is not a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a legitimate bill because it's not a company we work with. They just sent back a big fat zero. So the insurance company was like, well, this says your bill should be $0. And I'm like, my bill is $5,000. Here's the bill. I'm showing you the insurance company could say one thing, but the ambulance still wants their money. And they were coming after me for that money. So that was really hard, but they eventually took care of it. And there was another bill where a doctor gave me a discount. It was the bill, the Cigna said my portion of the bill should be $4,000. And the hospital said $2,500 because the doctor gave me a $1,500 discount because he was, I don't know why, but he did. And did
you send him a thank you card?
No, because it caused a lot of stress because the travel insurance company was like, this doesn't match.
Oh,
we can't make sense of this. And I was like, well, if you want to give me $4,000, I'm fine with it, but I really only need $2,500. And it took them forever. That bill just got paid this week.
Oh my gosh.
Since May. We started this claim the first week in June. That bill just finally got paid this week. But now everything, I've gotten recouped for all of the expenses for the trip, for the medical, for the hotels, for everything, for the Airbnb, and they covered everything they said they were going to cover. It didn't come close to $50,000 because my maximum out of pocket was like $6,000. So they paid for that. They paid for the hotel. But they've paid. Oh, and the ambulance. The ambulance was not included in that maximum out of pocket. So altogether, I mean, they paid like $11,000.
And tell everybody again how much the insurance cost you.
$32. I paid $32 for this insurance, and it covered $11,000 in expenses because that stupid ambulance bill.
And if you haven't listened to last week's show, you need to go back and listen to that show, and it will make a lot of sense what Toni-Ann's saying now because everything that Mandy talked about,
right?
Especially if you're going, to another country or flying somewhere like that,
right. So that was why I wanted to do that show with Mandy, was because if it wasn't for $32, I would have been out $11,000. So that was the difference. One thing she did point out was that some people's credit cards cover travel insurance, but she said it's really important to talk to your credit card company about exactly what they cover because it might not be everything. So you may still want to get travel insurance. She also said there are some, depending on what state you live in, there are travel insurance policies that are good for a full year for all your travels. So that's something else to look into. And third-party travel, because sometimes third-party travel insurance, sometimes what Disney offers is not as good as what you can get from some of these other third-party travel companies, because Disney wants to give you a Disney gift card or a Disney credit or cruise credit.
Right, or a couple e-tickets. Yeah, there you go. Right.
If you go with the third-party travel insurance, they'll actually give you money back. So you may want to look into all of that stuff before purchasing travel insurance. But I know personally, I wouldn't go without it. I would certainly not leave the country without it, but I wouldn't leave the state without it either at this point.
Right. And it goes up on the cost of your trip. So if you're going out of the country, of course, it's going to be a little bit more.
Right.
But when it all comes down to it, and the story, I'm not going to tell you if you haven't, because I don't want to spoil it, but Mandy tells a story about someone she knows that went out of the country and hadn't had a problem. So, and how much it cost them.
Just to transport was like $25,000, she said.
Oh, you just spoiled it. See, I was going to let them be surprised, but that's okay. Yeah.
But so that was why I felt so strongly about talking to our listeners about travel insurance, because I'm so grateful that I checked yes on that little checkout box where it said, do you want the travel insurance? Yeah, I was so grateful for that. And I did it because I thought Rich might get sick. And it turned out it was me.
All the things that Mandy was talking about, it's just like this could literally put you in debt if you make a mistake and don't get insurance. And it's kind of like a seatbelt. You don't need a seatbelt until you need a seatbelt. Then you're going to be happy and glad that you had the seatbelt.
Right. So that's my story, and that's why I'm going to tell everybody for the rest of my life, get the travel insurance.
We should when the show comes out, we should put a post out on our Facebook group, the Friends of the Disney Crush, and ask our friends who travel, do they get insurance? And I'll bet they'll start thinking, huh?
You want to ask people for their nightmare experiences?
Well,
like
maybe someone does have an experience. We have to do more shows now. Maybe this should be a sequel to this show. Well, I'm glad you checked that box, and I'm glad you're home. Glad you're safe.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that we did it. Yeah, and then I was out of work for 3 months. So if you want to ever do a show about short-term disability and the benefits of that.
Well, we can. Hey,
for $14 per paycheck, you could have short-term disability.
Yeah. See, I know you don't need it till you need it.
Yeah.
All right, Toni-Ann. Well, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing your story. I know that was not easy, probably.
No, and it was more emotional last week when I was talking to Mandy about it, because she's my best friend and she was very emotional about almost losing me. But
yeah, well, we all were. We all were going through a lot here. You didn't know, but we all were very worried about you. So, yeah, there is that.
Yep. This time next week we'll be with I'll have already seen Mandy for 2 days.
That is correct.
I'll be getting ready to say goodbye to her. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them next weekend. And well, it'll be just a couple of days by the time the show comes out.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, good. All right, Toni-Ann. Well, thank you. And I guess we'll see some of you guys in Disney.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Until next week. See you guys.
Bye. Don't forget to check the box and get the travel insurance.
True. I think that's it. All right.
The key of truth has spoken.
Put a check on that. Can you do that, Dave? Can you put a check on that one?